Yes, I can.
Okay, all right. Welcome to the Board of Finance. Let's call the meeting to order at 7:01 p.m. Meeting of alternates, entertain a motion to see Melissa Miller for Bruce Lawler. So moved. Second, I'll second it. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Do you have the online vote?
Aye.
All right, approval of minutes from June 18th, 2025.
Jeff, can we dispense with doing that on this meeting? I didn't realize we were gonna be bringing that into a special meeting and I haven't had a chance to look.
Motion to table.
Sure, I'll move to table the meeting minutes approval.
Second. All those in favor? Aye. Christina? Christina, you want to say aye or nay or?
Aye.
We'll do that next time. Further speak, public participation is desired and encouraged. Speakers will be limited to time and appropriate to comments to maintain progress, stay on topic and maintain the growth. You got anything to say? Jim Marshall.
Thanks, everybody. Jim Marshall, Fifty Hill Road. They really just want to say two brief things tonight. First, I gotta say, it was evident that you guys were looking at a different set of numbers last week and all we had available. But I gotta say, I'm quite frankly floored at the fact that $157,000 positive revenue since the second referendum wasn't discussed at all, didn't come up at all in your discussions about what reductions needed to be made and how that impacted the budget picture at the board event. That it just floors me, guys. I don't know when transparency went out the window in favor of politicking. It sucks. The reality is it's $157,000 of reduction since the last budget referendum in our favor. That's a great thing. It should have been applauded. It should have factored into your discussions. Maybe it did. It would have been nice if you guys actually talked about it and promoted it. And made the public aware of where we stood and what the changes are since the second referendum. And the only other thing I'll say is I'm really here hoping that you guys advocate for the budget you put forth and stop much of the partisan bickering and nonsense and quite frankly, just posturing that I'm already seeing happen. I'm expecting to see at the selectmen from Mr. Clark, when you guys in 2 days, when they go to actually move this, the referendum. I'm sure there's gonna be more from the chair here as well, but I mean, all I can say is I wasn't here for it, but I wasn't here in town for it yet, but the past 4 years, or 2 years in particular, budget discussions make me realize why the Seminole Party had such ground here, because the absurdity and the hyper partisan crap, quite frankly, coming from the leadership, particularly on the Republican Party side, it pales in. I just can't fathom why we are condoning that stuff. And why, and I'll speak directly to you guys, Bruce, Jeff, Melissa. I know you guys to be very reasonable people. I know you guys to be working towards positive, good for all. But if you're not willing to stand up and speak out, even amongst your own party, particularly amongst your own party, when for those being mouthpieces for it that aren't really members of the WRTC, then you're just as complicit in everything that happens as the rest of them. And that goes as well for the Board of Ed members, the Republican Board of Ed members. That's Arthur Christensen, John Mitchell, and Sam Sperry. You guys are elected representatives of the Board of Ed. You should be advocating for the families and students in town, but I haven't seen any of that. And in fact, I've seen the opposite. You guys are not here to be politicians. You're here to support the community that you serve. So I really hope to see a lot more positive support of a very reasonable budget, quite frankly. Yes, I get that every dollar counts and that some people in this town are hurting. But the reality is, you're hurting from the $3, none of this is gonna, nothing we do here is gonna do that. You're still gonna be hurting from the $3 because we missed that window 6 months ago. All this is gonna do is severely and harmfully hurt the students in our community, and the families that support those students in this community. So I really hope to see you guys out there and supporting the vote that you took last week to move this budget to referendum, as vocally as you can be, because we need to pass this nonsense and get onward with passing a responsible budget. And then looking forward for we can fundamentally restructure what's going on in town with these budgets. But to do so smartly and not at this haphazard, is just the wrong way to do it. So, thank you.
Couple of things, I note that those of us in town have very different ideas of what brief is. Secondly, there was a long discussion on the dollar change to the revenue at the last meeting. Particularly for the CSE, with, one of the boards of the members of the Board of Ed. Secondly, I want to address the question. I'm blanking on her name, that's all.
Okay.
I
mean, I asked Donna a lot of questions
Yeah.
about, did we get credit for the
Yes.
ECS money?
yes,
We had an extensive conversation.
we did have an extended
Um,
conversation.
But the point I think is, we didn't focus on what, the fullness of what had happened on the revenue side. I get that.
But we did discuss it. Secondly, the question on the ballot was brought up last time that we didn't have the data on whether it was too high or too low. You asked me the question of whether we could add even a second question. If you voted yes, is it too high or too low? I have not gotten an answer back from the lawyers on that. If you voted no question, we can add. I would also like to note that if you voted yes, that when you look at the scale of way too high or way too low, if you voted yes, it's someplace in the acceptable range, whether you think it's too high or too low. Even if you think it's way too high or way too low, it's a number that you could vote for. So I think that the game theory on that question would throw all your data into doubt. If you want to add the no question, yes or no, the no question, too high, too low, just let me know so we can add that to the call. And looking at the dates on the calendar as we last got it, we have the Board of Selectmen meeting to call the town meeting on Thursday, the 26th. That's been changed to Wednesday, the 25th at noon, which would allow us to go as soon as July 1st, which is a Tuesday for the town meeting, which is a normal date, I believe, right, Donna? I wanted you in the room to discuss that, so that we could go July 1st, and then we'd have the referendum on July 8th, which puts it on a Tuesday, which is a lot more regular. I understand that Wednesdays are not irregular and have been done in the past, but I think that with a third referendum, we're gonna wanna have it on a Tuesday, which is a normal voting day. And I think that's all I have.
While we're doing that, do you mind if we maybe make the July 10th date a 9th? Or
No.
that's something.
That's, I mean, that one's you.
Yeah, but since it's.
Yeah,
it would be the
that's-
next night.
I think that would be a discussion on your board. Also, one of the questions we had, and I haven't gotten an answer to it yet, is, once we set some of this the town meeting, we will have all these dates and times on the calendar. Whether we can send this to the newspapers and have them hold it so that they can start the publication right when we need it, and we can have them stop it. Otherwise, there's issues with newspapers used to be able to call them in the morning and print in the evening.
Now you call them on Monday and they might be able to get it in by Friday. So it's adding extra days, so what I'm trying to do is anticipate what we will be advertising and whether that seems okay to this board, because
Let us know if it's down here.
if it's not okay with you guys, I won't do it, it's just gonna press us real hard on timing. So do you think that the vote's gonna be 6 AM to 8 PM on Tuesday, the 8th? In the town hall?
You know, we can discuss all these changes. I think they're all good. I
Yeah.
think they're all an enhancement. I think the habit is Tuesday meetings, Tuesday referendum. We've departed from the Tuesday meeting somewhat just for the need, and going to a
Yes.
4-day week has had an impact and things. But in this
Don't
case,
understand that,
in
yes.
this case, I don't know, Jeff, if you're asking for thoughts, I mean, that's how I feel.
I mean, I'm fine with, ultimately, you guys set the date for everything, so.
No, the town meeting sets the date and time for the vote,
Okay. Well, okay,
Cause-
yeah, so.
but we make a strong suggestion.
Yeah.
And that's when the registrars will be here to accept the vote, so I think that would be a good day to have the voting.
Yeah,
If it works, I mean, yeah, if it works better for the staff, obviously, that's.
Well, it,
All you're doing here is pushing.
everything up one day from the board of
Sorry.
selectmen, yeah.
All that really happens on our end is.
Yeah.
You're just, changing your, BOS meeting.
Yes, one day,
And
that
then,
way we can, because you have to wait 7 days between.
right, so that everything
Yeah.
falls in after that, so we're
Yeah,
kind of out of the.
I would recommend though that we do move up, Jeff, to July 9th, which is a Wednesday. To set the mill rate. Because that's
The
also.
tax collector would appreciate that.
Yeah,
Okay,
you know,
yeah, so.
yeah, and thanks for this good work, cause I think it's,
Oh, the last thing I had, I'm sorry, I did have one more thing. The letter that you asked me to produce to be included in with the tax bill regarding those items that you asked me. We've been working on it today. We do not have a good draft yet. Carol was supposed to be here 7 minutes ago to tell you what she had, so if there's a couple members of your committee who I could communicate with by email to kind of forge this into what we're looking for.
Jeff, I volunteer to do that, that works. It's cause I have some,
I mean, as long as it's gonna be
It's information.
it's, a-
well, no, I know, I'm just trying to figure out. Whatever the.
Impartial. Impartial.
Well, there's that, and just, it's just a basic. Yeah, impartial fact, how the, I'm just picturing a pie graph in my head of
Yeah, so
what
but there's the
segments of the, how they were,
components,
Right.
yeah.
how the components were impacted by the rebound.
right, so what we did was we went through the minutes, or the video of the last meeting. To try to discern how to craft this document. And I think we're on the right path to at least build a framework which we can work off of. So I would suggest that Steph, you and one member of the Republican Party and myself get together on that to make sure that. Even though none of us will be happy, that none of us are really mad
Well,
and that
yeah,
it's literate,
and
and
I
that's
think
what I'm
that
counting on you
the
for.
basic components are, is, you know, the kind of explaining the reval,
Right,
you know, and,
Yep.
and the takeaways from the reval.
Yep.
So that's the assessor.
Yep.
And then, you know,
well,
the,
she's the one that's working on
Right.
helping
It's
you right now.
fairly simple.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's mostly, and then also explaining how people can, compute their savings on the
That's,
vehicle. And- I
I
mean, Jeff, this is the first time they're gonna see their values.
I know that, but.
You know, because it's not
It's
available.
kinda, I respect what you're saying. I just, it's kinda convoluted.
Well,
to
I
say
think that's
that-
what Pete feels
and
like,
it actually
their
is-
work, I don't know what they were coming up with, but he feels like they're getting priority. I don't
Yeah,
know.
that, I'm starting from complete opaqueness and we're working towards
Are we
clarity.
all?
I just don't know how you're gonna word that to where the whole time you've said, okay, take a look at your, motor vehicle tax.
Right, that's exactly the problem.
And say, oh,
Yeah.
look, you might save something here and let me give it another check. I don't know how to say that. It doesn't sound good.
That's-
I'm sorry.
I think,
That's why I've got 3 people working on it to build a framework and then we can, once we get it draft, then we'll know which direction we're going in. And what we want to include and what we want to leave out.
the fact is, the valuations are all gonna go down, whether someone really saves based on the other factors, whether they have a net savings once their real estate is factored in, that's the if.
Yeah,
Everyone's car tax. Is my understanding. I think,
may I make a
I think Kara
suggestion?
would say that.
Make a suggestion that you and I work with Bruce to see if we can craft a letter that's acceptable to.
Sure, or if it's okay with him, with Jeff, if you would, because you seem to have kind of a vision of what you're thinking shouldn't happen.
And seeing as how this is going out with
I
the
don't think
tax
it needs
bills,
a
I
lot
think
of
we can
verbiage.
present
No,
this at
you
the
should have his little, well,
July 9th
Yeah,
meeting.
I know.
I know.
I'll do it.
Okay. So if we could have a fairly solid draft by the July 9th meeting, to present to people.
John Blessington, 29 Mason Road. I'm getting a little confused here over our form of government. I thought it was town meeting. Or, which means that we have referendums which decide issues. And we've had 2 referendums so far. First one was a massive rejection of the budget. Second one was a less massive rejection of the budget, but it still was a rejection. And I feel that the $25,000 cut was more or less just okay, here's a token that we'll take out, so now you can vote it in. I think that cut is kind of a small one, but let's just remember, I've been told now twice by 2 prominent Democrats in town that once the Board of Finance has made a decision and the Board of Selectmen has made a decision, it is our duty to vote. Because they are the bosses and that's not the way it's supposed to work. So, you can say that, you can tell people how you want them to vote. And I just think you're not cutting it enough to pass the budget on this third. That's all I have to say.
Anybody else in the room here before we go to? Bruce.
Bruce Lawler, 48 River Road, Wilmington, Connecticut. So last week, you people decided to cut $25,000 from the Board of Education, and that was it. People voted that they wanted that budget to be turned down. They voted for it. You decide to disrespect the voters, cut $25,000 and vote, 5 of you, okay, to accept that. It was unacceptable to the taxpayers of this town. It was disrespectful of them. I hope that tonight that the Board of Finance decides to vote not to send this budget to the Board of Selectmen. And that it goes back to the Board of Finance for further negotiations to trim more money from the request of the Board of Education. Thank you.
Anybody else?
I'd like to raise a point of order, well, after these gentlemen speak.
Pete?
Peter Lutentridge, 97 Trask Road. Good evening. I want to share again, same concern I shared after your last meeting, after the results of the second referendum. The turnout of our electorate in both referendums was substantial. It's really a false argument that's being advanced that this is somehow partisan. The reality is that the majority of Wellington voters are unaffiliated. Approximately 1,500 of them, by far outnumbering either Democrats or Republicans. The reality is that the vast majority of people in town were very concerned about the budget in both referendums. That's why they turned out. That's why it was rejected twice. It was very disappointing in your last discussion following the second referendum to hear that somehow there was disinformation or misinformation that caused the voters to not know why they were voting, how they were voting. The voters actually tune out all of that noise. They understand when their family budget doesn't work, and that's when the town budget doesn't work. And it's just not right for you to ignore that. And I disagree with the notion that somehow elected representatives are responsible to elements of the budget, whether that would be the Board of Education, Emergency Services, Public Works. No, actually, you're accountable to the townspeople. We're the legislative body. We spoke twice, and you're choosing to ignore us a second time. I don't understand that. I urge you not to send this to the Board of Selectmen for yet another referendum and yet another referendum defeat. Work together as a board and arrive at some kind of reasonable compromise that respects our voters. Thank you.
Gentleman back here, I'm sorry, I'm okay.
Yeah. Joshua Saba, 80 Quebec Road. I just came to speak tonight because I'm feeling similarly and very frustrated that after the first two votes that got voted down were to parrot Mr. Blessington throwing a token of $25,000 is a complete joke. The town budget actually decreased from last year to this year. I would expect that the Board of Education would have the courtesy to do the same. At least do net zero. Let's be reasonable here, at least do net zero. And not increase at all from last year to this year, because there have been comments made that even reducing a couple $100,000, which is what that would be to be net zero, would only equal out to a couple $100 a person in savings in town. A lot of people need those savings. Those are actually a big amount of savings, even they're small in dollar amount to a lot of people in this town. I know for myself, I'm just starting out. I've only been out of college 2 years. And I mean, thinking about buying a home is unattainable for most people in my generation. And I know a lot of other people my age that are way worse than myself, and a couple $100 extra a year saved would be a big deal. So I'm asking that the Board of Education budget get kicked back, does not put a referendum. You guys deeply consider what the town people have told you and do not increase the budget. And definitely don't just decrease it by a little bit, just to basically say that you did without actually making any real decrease. Thank you.
Anyone else in the room? Mitch?
Mitch Saban. I wanna agree with almost all the speakers. I'd also like to just kind of point of order, I was a little confused that we're talking about having a referendum and you guys haven't even approved the budget yet. You haven't accepted the Board of Finance budget. And I understand the timeline. I was here at the last meeting. I had to leave a little early for health issues, a few reasons, but you know, you guys seem really urgent to rush this through, and I heard everybody was concerned about the cost of postage. We're not concerned about a $500,000 increase for the Board of Education or 4.5% raises for the teachers that was given out without any idea if the budget would pass. We don't seem concerned that the referendum has failed twice, that the voters have come out and said, no, we're gonna ignore that. And we're gonna just do this token 25,000. People have asked me online what I consider a decent cut to be. I think net zero is reasonable. I'd like to see a negative 2.6 like the town for the school. I think that's fair and reasonable, and that's what the taxpayers do. We've got a 14% plus poverty rate in this town. And it seems like the motive of fixing that is gentrification. Let's jack the taxes. If you can't afford to live here, go someplace else. That seems to be the solution that's being sought here. A $10 million budget for K-8 that has failing state scores. Not anecdotal, my kids are doing great, actual scores for the kids. I'm sure we have kids that come, I know we have kids that come out of Wilmington that do just fine and go on to be successful. That's that 37% they're kind of passing that equivalency. That's not the whole picture. Acts, not emotions. That's what I'd like you to deal with. We have 2 votes, one massive defeat of the budget. And the second one was still a defeat, but it was still a renunciation and a surprising one, I'm pretty sure, for the Board of Education. And they're so sure that you're gonna pass that 25,000. I don't see the Board of Education here tonight to even discuss any problems. It's just like, hey, we have spoken. And I've lived in this town a long time. That's how the Board of Education has always acted. They tell people what to do. We're here for their service. The taxpayers are saying to you guys that, hey, you guys are here to serve us, not the other way around. Stop increasing our budget. I'll reserve my time, but I think that's all I would say.
Anybody else in the room before we go to video? Donna Cook?
Thank you. I apologize. I've been having some technical difficulties, so if I repeat anything, it's not intentional. First of all, I appreciate what Peter and Mitch and the other young man said. I'm concerned about a few things. One is a $25,000 insult is an insult on a $10 million budget. That's not meaningful. The other thing is the timing of everything. So for the last referendum, we found out and we were able to pick up absentee ballots on Thursday for the vote on Tuesday, because this town office building isn't open on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and they opened Monday after my husband was going to be leaving for a work trip that he could not rearrange. Fortunately, he was able to pick up the absentee ballot on Thursday and vote. But you need to be cognizant, it's summertime. There are people that would love to participate in the process. And the time frame when I called earlier today and spoke to a very nice gentleman, I believe his name was Ian, was he's expecting that by the time it gets to them where they're given the okay to have the ballots published, they're not going to get stuff until late on the 3rd. The office building is closed on the 4th for 4th of July. It's closed Saturday, Sunday, and they're saying that the vote is on Wednesday. That does not give people ample time, since nothing is mailed out because it's just the referendum, to participate. You know, somebody's leaving on vacation, by the time they realize that a vote is happening, they're gone. Or they just, I mean, to me, there's not, and you have to have at least 5 or 6 days where people could come into the town office and pick up their absentee ballot so that they can participate in the process. And I think that affects everybody. It doesn't matter what's going on, what political party you might be associated or how you feel about the budget. But if people want to participate, they really do need more than 1 day or 2 days that they could come in. So those are my 2 things. I know this is hard work, and it's disheartening with how much our taxes have gone up and the quality of service that we're getting necessarily hasn't. And we also need to be cognizant of what the community can afford in all aspects of our budgeting. Thank you very much, and I appreciate your hard work.
Hey, Jen and or Mike McCool.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm so sorry, I'm driving, but I could not respond. There are so many things that I would be interested in saying, but I'll just address a couple of things. Our job as a member of the Board of Ed, our job is first and foremost to support and advocate for the students of Wellington. It's not to make people happy. It's to do the best thing that we think is in the best interests of our students. So we repeatedly, the Board of Ed has returned money to this town. Repeatedly, the Board of Ed has come in with super minimal increases year over year. If one of the people who's standing up and saying the Board of Ed is selfish and only cares about whatever, they should really go back and look at those years that the Board of Ed returned money, that the Board of Ed came in with nominal increases, and then come back and have a conversation about it. The comments that people are making are so disrespectful. And the second thing that I wanted to bring up is someone mentioned, I believe it was Pete Latinchich, that this is not a partisan vote. That is laughable, given the fact that the Board of Ed, the Board of Finance, apologies, has had multiple votes right down the line, 3-3, 3-3. So please tell me that that's not partisan. And I understand that I came into this meeting late, so perhaps there was some announcement that was made. I'm having a hard time understanding why the Board of Finance chair is not chairing the meeting tonight and is sitting in the audience. Thank you.
Is there anyone else?
Anybody else on the line? Jim Bueller,
Yeah, I know. Oh, it's behind. Oh, the sign.
Jim Bueller? Got your hand raised?
Nope. Change the mind.
Okay. Jim.
I do want to again, I will be brief this time, Peter.
Thank you.
Just want to say, my prior comment to you guys stands. This is the time to stand up and actually speak up, back against a lot of the garbage, a lot of the bad speak, a lot of just garbage. That's all I can say. So it's in your court, guys. I expect you to step up. I hope you do. Thank you.
Mitch?
Right, 70 Parade Road, on the voting, I completely agree with what Donna was saying. I was looking at the same thing today. There's no way for somebody that's not gonna be in town for that week to file an absentee ballot. Which to me just feels wrong. Everybody talks about disenfranchising voters, that's what we'd be doing. And again, regardless of party, if I wanted to vote and I wasn't gonna be here, that'd be upsetting to me. Secondly, I completely agree with what James said, except I would actually flip that and say, you have your responsibility to listen to the voters and not all the other stuff. So, thank you.
Anybody else?
If I can direct a question to our first selectman.
Yes.
Pete, I know we frequently ask our lawyer to advise us on things like the vote, to 2 high or too low and so forth. Can we use the lawyer for something as important as fun?
Can you address it to them, and I'll answer?
Really?
Well, I'm sorry, I just thought that he was on top of this. I will do
I
it to the board.
I thought we were finished with present to speak, but
All right,
okay.
well, it seems like it went into a second round, so.
Yeah, it does, you're right about that.
But I will remove myself from the present to speak. Thank you.
Go ahead and ask your question.
No, I don't want to burden you.
I just have a point of order about it. Okay, I don't understand why the chair of this board said he would not be here. We seated an alternate. He came in a little late, sitting in the audience, commenting as, I don't know if you're commenting as the chair or Bruce Lawler, the citizen.
As a citizen of the
I see,
town.
so is that what this is, that you're coming as a citizen? It turns out you didn't have to
I
miss
can come in
tonight?
here, I can have somebody seated in my position, and I can come in as a citizen of this town.
I
like
see.
Anybody else, and I know that you don't like things contrary to what you believe.
No, I mean, I don't think
have
you
a
do
right-
either.
I have a right as a citizen to speak during.
Okay, I'm just
presidency.
clarifying what the situation is, because it's
It's
rather awkward for a board to have their chair
We're done discussing
not-
this, okay?
and to say, I won't be at the meeting, will you seat an alternate for
No
me
more
when you're here?
awkward than the beliefs that you put out regarding the budget, okay? All right, Jeff, I'll take my seat.
Well, I thought, wait, no, yeah, I don't think you,
I have no idea.
I don't think you can, I don't think you can come in and just say, I'm a
Mem-
citizen, no, I'm a
members-
chair.
Members have come in late before. okay,
Yeah,
when
but
there
this
has
is
been- when
different.
there
You
has been
just
an
said you're
alternate.
here as a citizen.
I spoke as a citizen, now I'm going to sit down as the chair of the board.
This is crazy.
No more crazier than the perverse ideas that you have.
All right, let's.
Okay,
Now-
okay.
Now, this
Okay.
is ridiculous. It's
So-
a special meeting. First of all, we need to just focus on what's on the agenda.
You guys support this?
I think that you,
This is what you want.
hey, Jim,
This is-
hey,
Whoa.
I really think it's not appropriate if you're not gonna be here and then speak as a citizen to then insert yourself as a chair.
I think
It's
it
very
is.
clear that you just wanted to have a say. You had your say, but if we seated an alternate, we can't just go back and forth like that.
What we have before.
Not very nice.
Yes, we have. We have with you, we have with Melissa. We have had members come in, Christina come in late.
With the seated chair, I would like to address the seated chair, Jeff Prushak. I move that we do not replace the chair that was seated at the beginning of this meeting with the understanding that that the regular chair could not be here to preside. Is there a second?
Mike, who has his hand up, he's usually on top of the Roberts rules.
Is he part of the board? Is he part of the board?
Mike's not.
President speaks over.
But he does have knowledge about.
How comforting.
Hi, I must admit, I'm just coming in late because I had family obligations. And
Could you mute him?
Hold on a second.
Absolutely. Really? We listened to people in the room 3 times. Really?
My time.
So this is partisan. I'm seeing this.
We're in a gray area, but you can't have someone where we had this many times before. And for everything. You have someone that's absent or late. If they are late, once they come into the meeting, the alternate is no longer seated.
But they also
That's very
don't
different.
participate as a
That's
member
also
of
true.
And when I
the
asked
public.
for the point of
So-
order and asked to clarify, I was told, I'm here as a citizen, not as a chair. So I don't know how you guys want it, all the ways you want it, when you want it, but that seems to be a clash of reasons and rationale.
Chairman
would like to
Prusak, I'm
first-
trying to make a point of order myself.
Say, we listened to everyone else multiple times. Sorry, Mike.
You stated that present to speak was over.
No, she said she thought.
I didn't move on. so-
Nobody has moved on. We're still technically in present to speak. You had your say and then you stood up and tried to take over the meeting and we're questioning us at this point.
Okay, go ahead, Mike.
Just a point of order, without weighing into what I just am coming into here. I think there's a lot of problems with this. And it wouldn't surprise me if this turned into a mess after this meeting, because I believe once the member arrives at the meeting where they had an alternate seated for them, they automatically take over the spot. I believe we clarified this a while back on another committee. So technically, as soon as Chairman Lawler was in the room, he probably should have taken the seat. This looks like a mess to me.
But he refused, so what do we do at that point?
Then he's created a 7th member of the committee. You all of a sudden have a 7-member Board of Finance. Just like the problem we talked about before, if the alternates are influencing decision-making too much, they're creating a 7th or 8th member. I don't know the answer to what's happening right now. I'm just saying this is messy and the shenanigans could get us in trouble.
Christina? Can you weigh in on this since you have vast experience running meetings and presiding over the town?
Mitch?
So it's normal procedure, parliamentary procedure for chair to be able to step away as chair, speak as a citizen, and step back in as the chair. He's allowed to speak as a citizen as long as he announces that he's speaking as a citizen, not as a chair. You guys sitting at that table follow different rules than we do out here in the audience, which is why that's allowed by parliamentary rules. So I don't think we've created a situation. Also, point of order, when I speak, when I'm done, I'm talking to you, Ms. Summers. When I'm done speaking, I said I reserve my time. I'm not using more time than I'm allowed to. Also, it's interesting to me that you didn't complain the instant the first person spoke second. You complained second person that spoke second, which was me, who disagrees with you. So you seemed okay when somebody that agrees with you spoke twice. But then you objected when I did. That's the end. But on the chairman thing, I believe that's
I
parliamentary
don't
procedure.
object to you speaking.
Do we have anybody else for president to speak? Nope, so just.
John Washington, if I could make a suggestion, you voted to seat an alternate in the place of the chairman, which means now you have an extra, person on the committee.
We never,
What?
You did.
we never unseat.
We didn't.
I was going to say, okay.
I'm just saying, it's just, we never do that, so.
So is she seated now?
No, because he's back. It would be less messy if you just get,
Okay, okay, never mind.
in my mind, that's how that works.
But Jeff,
We never made a motion to unseat an alternate.
we've never had a situation where a chair came in, acted as a citizen. And said when a point of order was raised, that they were here as a citizen, and then changed their mind to come up and take the gavel. We have never had that situation. It's very different from someone coming in late and asking for, having to seat an alternate for that interim period of time. And when they come in, we receive them. This is very different from that. This is a choreography, so.
We can vote on it. Somebody make a motion.
I think you had a motion on the floor already.
Motion basically that,
Make a motion to unseat Melissa Miller for Bruce Wallner.
Didn't,
I don't know.
Stephanie make a
I did
motion?
make the motion that we,
Was there a second?
that
And
we
if there's
leave
no second.
the
then
interim
you can-
chair in place and, yeah.
second. All those in favor
Is
say
there
aye.
a discussion?
Oh, okay.
Oh, and also, isn't the
Discussion.
chair the one who asked for that?
Who asked for what?
Jeff's still presiding.
so-
That's what we're deciding here. You're not presiding over this vote.
Thank you for the clarification.
I'm just saying.
Okay.
Is anyone else in an alternate state here?
No, but I wish I was.
I saw you leave the room.
Can you just restate that? Yes.
I move
Record.
I move that the interim chair stay in the position of chair and the alternate stay seated for the chair who said he would be absent tonight and instead appeared as a citizen only.
Second.
That kind of money's like even more. Maybe not.
I don't know what the rule is, so I don't know how. it can-
So that means you're not seated at all.
I don't think it was the
Well,
protocol. I mean, all this discussion happened beforehand.
Well, no, he's still a member. I'm just gonna run the meeting. I did that with you.
You can't have a seven.
No, I know, but she's not,
But I wouldn't be voting anymore.
she's not voting.
See, that makes a big difference, doesn't it?
Well, then. Well, who would I? You know, we said five times.
I don't know. I feel like something's very wrong with the way this is unfolded.
Wait a minute.
And-
If I could just say something as an ex officio member.
Sure.
There's been a motion.
Yeah.
There's been a second. You've now had some discussion. Is there any further discussion? And if there isn't, you should hold a vote and see whether the motion passes or not. With Melissa still voting, because that's where we're at, okay? Melissa voting, Bruce is not seated yet because of the motion that Stephanie made. So,
You're right. So, okay, all those in favor?
Of leaving you as the chair.
Yes, so Stephanie.
All those in favor?
Signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Yeah. No preference. No old business, new business. Vote to recommend the BOS Poly town meeting for the purpose of a third budget referendum for the K-8, pre-K-8 education budget.
just as a quick point of order, I would suggest that seeing as how that last passed, Bruce is not a seated member of the board today, whether he should be stepping away from.
Probably is, but he's not. That was part of the motion.
No,
No.
no.
You stay chair, she
Pass.
stays seated.
She stays seated.
So Bruce is basically an alternate like I am, non-voting.
Okay, there you go.
Alright,
I move to recommend the Board of Selectmen call a town meeting for the purpose of a third budget referendum for the pre-K through 8 education budget in the amount of $10,014,754.
Wait a minute, I don't have my paperwork out. Can you say the number one more time?
$10,014,754.
All right, thank you. I have to get the last on the meeting.
okay, so discussion. Heard from a lot of people in the audience, we've heard from people throughout this whole process, no one's been happy. But no budget ever satisfies everyone. I don't know where we're gonna come to, today, with us. What, I don't know what us going, through the process again. What we did last week. What different consensus we come to. We're a different. Ballot.
That'll be 3 no's and 3 yeses again and again, like the other week. Maybe get another 10 grand off, which won't really affect much of anything. 200 grand. Voters turn it down again, we can have those discussions.
Can I say something?
Absolutely.
I think the bigger story here is not the $25,000 that was cut, is the change in revenues, and that is changing what the mill rate is by over a percentage. That's huge. That's a big deal. That I think gets us to where it was stated we were trying to get to. So I'm not sure why there's still a lot of discussion about that.
I agree with that for a couple of reasons. Well, for multiple reasons. First of all, it's not just a 25,000 cut overall. The schools have cut more than 200,000. And with that 25,000 figured in, and they also, the school reserve in the CIP plan was cut 225,000. So you could say the schools have stood to lose 432,000 just by what I've scratched out. There's things I'm sure I'm not remembering. So I think that's a pretty heavy knock. But the results of what's happened here is, to me, the takeaways from Donna's numbers are that the, overall if taxes to be raised, which is the overall impact, counting the revenue offset, has gone from 3.5% overall to 2.4%. That's the number that Christina's referring to. That's huge. The expenses have gone from 1.6% to 1.4% from all three budgets. So that is, those numbers are significant, and the, especially the taxation to be raised, we're at 2.4%. I believe when we were at the table, when we were closing the budget for the first time, Walter's number that he put out there that he wanted to get to was 2.9. So we're half a percentage point below, half a point below that. So I feel like that relates to, that reveals a lot of cutting of the budgets. All the budgets have been hit in different ways. This is, I very much understand the reval impact and the overlay of the reval, which makes this budget year extremely complicated. And I understand the interest in getting the budgets down to, 0% from that 1.4. As some kind of, I don't know, bellwether or goal that's being held by some in town. But I think that it's unreasonable in these times when we know what's happening with utilities, we know what's happening with, it doesn't in any way reflect what the federal picture is, that we take budgets in a small town that are already pretty tight and take them down to 0 to just make the statement, because otherwise the numbers are largely different, very different from the second referendum. So I feel like that's worth sending it back out, because if you're taking your overall taxation to be raised down from 3.5 to 2.4, and yes, a lot of that is the revenue picture. But let's talk about revenue. A big hunk of the revenue, the offset, is education cost sharing. So again, that's education money. We're having a discussion. We're in a discussion on a motion on the table. Is that a point of order? Point of order. I do not appreciate being attacked by the multiple people in the room, including at this table.
I didn't.
And I'm not talking to you, Jeff. I'm not talking to you. And I don't appreciate being interrupted. So.
We're gonna continue to have problems in years to come unless we get more revenue in town. That's gonna probably need more development. And I think we need to start advocating, overall for that, or we're gonna have some major issues here. We want the nice things, we gotta be able to pay for it. This shit show that we've been through here in the last few months, it shows you how people are feeling.
Donna, is the overall increase in the education budget in the K-8, is it more like 245,000?
It is.
Yeah, so I was even understating it at a little over 200. Plus the 225 from the school reserve, so. To say that this is an insulting decrease, I do not get that. Obviously, that's not connecting the dots from this whole budget season, which has been long and complicated, and I realize everybody has not seen every chapter.
And whether anybody agrees or disagrees, people are speaking out for what they feel is gonna affect them most. And I don't think we should be, you know, attacking anybody for anybody's opinion, whether you agree with them or not. It doesn't make our jobs any easier. And no one should feel like they're being attacked, but I mean, I understand that sitting on this board, you know, we have to kind of make final decisions. And we talk to the people in town, you know, but to discredit, you know, and I'm not gonna, you know, call out names, but discredit anybody that agrees or disagrees. I don't think that's fair to anybody. I just think that that's wrong, and we have to stop attacking each other. And say, hey, we all have to get together as a community. And stop just being nasty to each other. I mean, we all have problems. Some people are not gonna be able to afford their taxes when they go up. And there might be somebody that might end up losing their house in a tax sale because they can't afford to pay for their extra taxes. Maybe somebody can, I don't know, but to discredit somebody, to tell them that because they voted no. I just don't think that that's right, and I'm right there, we definitely need to work together. People need to start talking about how to get smaller businesses here in town in order to offset some of this issue. I mean, I had to cut my budget, and I'm probably gonna have to cut it again, because I have to come up with that extra money. So I'm not gonna discredit anybody, whether you have money or you don't have money. But, you know, I mean, we've all worked really hard to get here. So to say, you know, I agree with 25,000 or I don't agree, that's not for me to say, but to tell somebody out in the audience that they don't have a right to feel that, represent themselves and how they talk. I just think that we are in a rock and a hard place, and you know, I wasn't here to listen to the meeting last week. I was online, and then I got cut short at the very end. I was in an area where I didn't
Who
have
is
great
saying,
service.
excuse me, but who is saying someone in the audience doesn't have the right to talk?
I'm just saying the way. I mean, you said that you felt like you were being attacked.
I was.
And I don't know that you were or weren't. I mean, I try to stay out of people's
Okay.
political nonsense.
You
because
didn't hear what Bruce said to me?
I'm trying to stay out of the political nonsense. I don't think either of you should talk to each other like that. I don't
I
think
didn't
that,
talk to him that way.
I don't think anybody should talk that way, because we should be professionals sitting up here. You know, we're supposed to be representing people in the town. You may have people that you're talking to, Bruce may have people he's talking to. Everybody has the right to feel differently. That's all I'm saying. And it's hard enough to sit on this board, but then when I have to actually listen to people being nasty to each other, no wonder why the rest of the citizens in this town don't like us and think that we're not doing a good job. And it's kind of bad. It's just a bad look. And honestly, I'm not gonna say any more about it. I mean, I think that you guys voted on this last week. I think we have to present it the way it is and let the townspeople make a choice. Honestly, I don't know what else to say.
Anything else you can? Okay. Okay,
Christina, have anything?
Christina, you got anything else you wanna say?
I don't have anything to add.
Lisa, you wanna do a roll call vote?
Mr. Ross,
Yeah,
yay. Ms. Prusak, you're seated. Ms. Miller?
Yes.
I,
Aye. Mr. Parcell?
Yes.
Ms. Summers? Yes. And that is all in favor?
Okay, unanimous.
Jeremy,
Yes, sir.
the question on the question. Would you like the question of too high, too low added to the referendum or not?
Use kind of alluded to that earlier,
If you wanna.
if I heard correctly, we got a little money, the yes, no question.
Yeah, whether you can say, if you voted yes, was it too high or too low? That's where the muddy part comes in, and we don't have
Cause you can't,
don't have a legal opinion on that. If you look at it, look at a graph, the people who vote, yes, they found that number to be acceptable. Whether they thought it was too high or too low, it was still acceptable. It's the people that voted no that found the number unacceptable, whether they found it unacceptable too high or unacceptable too low, that's the outside that narrow spectrum of, well, not necessarily narrow spectrum of people who found it acceptable, all right? So that, the no question, yes, if you voted no question makes far more sense to me than if you voted yes question. The legality of the vote, yes, if you voted yes question is still in limbo. If you want the vote no question, then is it too high, too low? That's all I need to know is whether you would like it added to the ballot or not.
so that one question or two.
It's one question, two answers, so it says, if you voted no.
Yeah.
Was it because A, too high, B, too low? That's all, it's a one question. And so you as a board have to tell me whether you want that added to the ballot or not.
Why couldn't the question be, regardless of how you voted, was it too high or too low?
I suppose it could be.
Well, how do you work, so, I guess you word it out. But you need.
All I know is that
But you-
writing it, if you voted no, I know absolutely that's,
If it is legal,
yeah,
then
I will try to. I would have to find out within 24 hours and I'm not going to do that, because. Tomorrow morning, we're filing our agenda and then having our meeting 24 hours after that to move this calendar so that. We can try to. Get an August 1st mailing on the. July. Yeah, an August 1st mailing so we can get receipts in by August 30th. Which is. About when our reserves start getting a little thin. I would like to see my people paid.
that would be.
Nice.
So I know the last time around, it just seemed like it didn't, you couldn't agree that it was all encompassing enough.
Yeah, I believe that the vote last time was 0 to 8 against. But I am offering it because. I'm a nice guy.
What is everything?
You probably need a motion.
It's a special meeting.
It's part of the call.
I'm just asking, I don't.
Yeah, no, I under the,
Let me see this because I didn't read the whole thing.
just the agenda.
It's not.
It's not on.
To recommend the call of the purpose of. Yeah, all right, it's not on it.
Yeah.
It's part of the budget question, but I see where, if you feel that it's out of that bounds, and. I would say just. Seeing as how there's no motion yet, just keep moving.
There we go. Any other discussion on it?
No.
So back to the calendar. This isn't a special meeting, but this does go along. You're gonna change your board of select meeting.
We're changing the Board of Selectmen meeting from the.
26th to the 25th.
26th to the 25th. And then that gives us the town meeting going from July 2nd to July 1st. Which allows us to go July 8th on the referendum, which
So
is
we
a
should meet
Tuesday.
on the 9th.
So the special meeting should be, your next meeting, your special meeting should be on the 9th.
So as far as acting on it, revised calendar, in my mind, it all starts with that, and then.
Yes,
So we don't have to really do it, we're not gonna adopt it tonight. Or,
Is it on your
It's not on
agenda?
the agenda, we can't. It's the only thing on the
can't.
agenda go from you.
This,
It's
yeah,
gonna go from that meeting forward.
yep. And that gets us back on Tuesdays, which is when people are used to voting.
Everybody good?
Can we have a consensus that we're in agreement with the suggestions that have been made?
I thought we just did that, but okay.
Oh, okay, well, I didn't know if you asked for consensus or not.
Like I said, is everybody good?
Yeah. Okay, sorry.
It's okay. Everybody's good, everybody's good.
We're good.
We're all good.
No correspondence present to speak. This will be good. Mike McCoo.
Good evening again.
Hi.
My head's spinning a little bit with what went on tonight, trying to understand it. I tried to do some Robert's Rules research. In the meantime, there wasn't enough time. First of all, I want to say I very much understand and respect not only Mr. Lawler, but anyone else on the board's desire to not give up their right to free speech. I truly respect that. And it is a challenge. We've seen it before. I've been in that position myself as a selectman and as a chair of your board. The balance that I felt when I was in that role was that when I volunteered to put my name on a ballot or be appointed to that role, I took on more than just my own personal right to free speech. I didn't give it up, and no one should, but I also understood that I had to balance that with a commitment to try to make good decisions for the townspeople. And that's something greater than me. And when I took on the position of being chair of the Board of Finance, I knew I took on even more balancing act because I had to do what was right for the townspeople under the guise of trying to manage the items that the chair is in charge of, which is only a few things like setting the agenda and trying to facilitate the meeting. And that's the challenge of being in a leadership position. I understand that people are struggling tonight with wanting to have their free speech, but I didn't see a lot in the vein of leadership and I came in late to the meeting, but I think I figured out what was going on. It was messy. I think there's going to be an argument that there were 7 members. And even the vote to have Jeff stay and keep Melissa seated, I think is probably going to, if people challenge it, will be found to be defective. Because I believe Robert's Rules is clear: when a member returns, they are automatically seated and you don't have the choice to keep the alternate seated. But I could be wrong on that. The beginning of the motion of asking Jeff to stay as the chair, I think, is perfectly legitimate. Anyway, I don't think this was a good look tonight. I don't think we saw leadership in action. And to use not a very cool sounding term, I'm a little bummed out about it. I'm disappointed. There's got to be a better way of doing business. Thank you.
Donna Cook.
So after I thought I clearly articulated the need for some more time between when you declare a day to vote and when the people actually can get an absentee ballot, you did the same thing. So the ballots won't be ready till the 3rd. July 4th is a holiday. You've got Saturday, Sunday, and the vote's going to be Tuesday, which means if somebody wants to vote and they are gone for the holiday weekend, they can't get in by Thursday. And it was iffy when I talked to Evan or Ivan, whatever that nice gentleman's name is, that they could even be ready for the 3rd. You're having a vote on the 8th. I don't understand why you're making it hard for people to participate. Thank you.
Anybody else online? No, anybody else in the room?
Sorry,
Yeah, okay.
James Marshall, Fitzgerald Road. I gotta go back and just throw back to my initial comments at the start of this meeting that the politicking of this is serving nobody. Nobody at all. And, it's a shame. This was really a mess, guys. This was embarrassing. And it shouldn't be like this. It's serving nobody. You gotta move past it. You gotta stand up and do what's right. And you just gotta do better. Thank you.
Mitch,
Eventually, Riddick Road, seems like there's only one right and one wrong, it's black and white, I guess, and, if you don't agree with the one opinion, you're all wrong. I'm disappointed with the way the board voted tonight, would rather this end in a tie. I agree with Donna, I think the election should also, the giving time for absentee ballots should also be addressed. And I would like to ask a kind of point of order question, if you guys, if there were a problem with the vote tonight, because of the whole seating, not seating, alternate, not alternate thing, does that invalidate this meeting? And the vote.
Yes, we can find out.
Tendrich 97 Trask Road. I am also disappointed by the board's unwillingness to work tonight towards some kind of compromise that could meet the voters. That's unfortunate. But I'm even more disturbed by the failure of the board to even recognize its basic responsibility. As a town, we don't vote on mill rate. We don't vote on revenue. Fortunately for us, our founders set up a system where we vote on spending increase. That's what the referendum is about. It doesn't matter how much revenue we have. We vote on how much the budget is going up. And townspeople understand this because budgets and spending increases compound from year to year. And the voters know this, whereas revenue, as we found out this year, can actually go down. So at least it would have been helpful if you would have clarified what we're voting on. But you didn't do that either. Thank you.
anyone else?
Just question, if you're gonna look into that, how will we find out about the results?
I mean,
If there's a formal complaint, then it goes to, FOIA board. They'll let us know in 3 to 5 months, I'm assuming. I wish I had a better answer for you. I really don't.
That doesn't help anything.
No, that's,
I'm not sure that's freedom of information.
yeah, they have, I mean, they've gone to, I mean, every other thing that has to do with meetings and how meetings are run has gone to freedom of
It could be,
information.
yeah.
Even stuff that I thought had nothing to do with freedom of information has gone to freedom of information. That's why I think that it's probably them that it goes to.
it would be.
There you go. I agree with John Blessington. Oh, God, the world's coming to an end.
Okay, moving on, good and welfare.
Seems to be insurance.
It's like summer.
I'd like to say that I'm glad that Ralph was out of the hospital.
I would like to say that, you know, keep Ralph Toulis in your, thoughts, he, had a recent bout. I don't know how he wants to discuss it. He was in the hospital for a few days from Thursday to yesterday.
Just in time for the heat wave.
But, he's still kind of, working. I talked to him today. Sounds good, for all the things he's gone through. So keep in with your thoughts and that, is there anything else? Entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved.
I'll second.
All All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.